Hello, everyone. I'm Joey Rosenberg, Chief Leadership Officer for Women Who Code, and I am thrilled to be joined today with Erin Zaller to unpack all things recruiting for tech and to give you a bit of insight about how to really make your resume and your digital presence stand out if you're looking for your next tech job. Erin, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. First, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do at Kforce and help us just get an understanding of your vast experience working in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been at Kforce. I'm coming up here on 14 years, and it's all been on the IT side. It's all been on the recruiting side. So I've grown up as a recruiter. I now oversee all of our recruiting operations for what we call our consumer and tech region. So we're essentially industry aligned. And in the most simplest form, we are a matchmaker to our clients and also our candidates and consultants. So day in and day out, the topic that we're covering is something that's really near and dear to my heart because we're helping people land their dream opportunity. And we're doing it with really cool technologies, really cool companies. So it's an exciting time.
Wow, so you really know what it takes to stand out to get that next job. I'm super excited to help unpack this for our members and our audience. I think they're can be really valuable for people looking for their next job. So let's start with coding languages. So how do you showcase different coding languages on your resume in a way that really resonates and makes sense and demonstrates that you can do the job?
Yep, that's a great question because I feel like the evolution of the resume has also changed. We get a lot of questions of, is a resume really important when you do have code or repositories that you can share? And the answer is absolutely yes. So when you're thinking about putting together a really powerful resume and in showcasing your coding skills, definitely think about that summary because you really do capture attention, whether it's from a recruiter, if it's from a hiring manager, right off the page. So you want to be articulate with the languages that you've used in your summary section, but also think about from a non-technical audience. I always like to tell my recruiters, like just the basic journalism 101, who, what, where, when, why. What did the application do? Who was using it? What impact did you have on that? Sometimes you'll see resumes that just list coding languages within the environment, and it's hard to decipher what did you have a role in? Did you use that, or was it purely just an environment perspective? So starting with that skill summary section up front, being very articulate around the coding languages that you have and how you applied them when you start to think about your individual roles is really, really powerful. Also being able to kind of show your evolution of your coding journey. What did you learn from school? What are some passion projects? That's also helpful too. So we can see, what are you doing in your current day-to-day? Where is that technology going? Or what are you doing in your free time or spare time to learn new coding languages or technologies that may be relevant to you landing a new position?
Wow. So then is the summary also the place that you should be showcasing if you're a member of a professional organization like Women Who Code, or if you've held any leadership roles? Is that where you'd recommend kind of inserting that?
Absolutely. Yeah, because the summary is essentially, it's kind of like your Twitter bio, or like you think about like just if you had an elevator pitch of yourself, you want to show what you've done, the experience you have, but also what you're passionate about, and things like affiliations, classes, coursework. All of that stands out. Again, you have to think about the average read time of a resume, which you can read different things. I've seen stats of a recruiter on average looks at a resume for 6 to 10 seconds before making that decision. Am I going to pick up the phone and call this person? So it doesn't hurt to put everything out on the table, because especially in today's market, to show that you truly have a passion for something, that you're investing time, that you're affiliated with certain organizations, that also could lead to different connection points. So maybe you left it out of your skill summary, but the person reviewing your resume is a part of that same group or took that same course, then you miss that opportunity. So absolutely, that's a great best practice.
And what about hackathons? I mean, our members love to attend hackathons. There are a lot of great things you can do virtually. You mentioned keeping your skills fresh. Do hackathons and certifications and things like that count for someone that's looking to
Absolutely.
hire?
Absolutely. I got to attend my first hackathon years ago and I was in awe. So now when I see it on the resume, I'm clicking on the link, I'm looking at where they placed in the competition, what were the parameters, like how much time did they have to develop their idea, were they in a group? So absolutely. And even if, you have that skills portion, you have your individual positions, but even up top, where your name is, you can have those affiliated links, right? Whether it was your hackathon details, if you won, project work, all of those links are a great way to stand out. And again, it shows that you've been a part of something like that, shows critical thinking skills, and it's just a really cool topic to talk about.
Yeah, that's amazing. I am also in awe when I go to hackathons. I never thought about actually putting all those details into a resume. But you're right, it is something that's really special. And if you can handle a hackathon, you can handle a lot of pressure and produce really cool things. That's a great
Agreed.
tip.
I think some people worry sometimes about having too much, but there's just simple, clean ways. Like think about even, from a design eye of how to keep it focused on the tasks at hand, summarizing your experience, but you can reference a hackathon again, where you placed, what you did, and just hyperlink it. Like hyperlink it so it's within the sentence. It's not an additional link. There's ways to do little cosmetic things like that too, that just kind of softly embed it within your resume. But it's still great to click on that and then see further information and more about your work.
So that kind of links to the next topic I wanted to kind of unpack with you. In the digital world, right now, when you apply for a job, everything's virtual, your resume is virtual, so you have this huge opportunity to build a professional brand online. What are some of the digital tools that people should really be paying attention to and utilizing to build their presence?
Um, Gosh, there's so many, and you are not wrong. The digital world, again, your resume is powerful. You're not gonna get around that. Most opportunities will require it, and it's nice to have. It's your essential summation of your opportunities and where you want to go with your career. The digital portion, I think, really arms and can make such a difference in your job search and also just in passion projects and people that you want to be connected to. LinkedIn, of course, is a very, very powerful tool. Not only if you're not looking for a job, if you are looking for a job, but there's so many ways to join groups and organizations and just kind of poke around to see that rabbit hole of who's connected to who. Twitter, of course, even getting yourself in an operating rhythm to where you have notifications almost automatically coming to you. If you're liking certain content, you want to see more about that, that is a great way to kind of stay informed, but also keep yourself out there. There's obviously sites, from a repository perspective that you can be publishing and liking and sharing and appreciating, and you don't realize how much, they always say there's like, 6 degrees of separation, like everyone's connected. It is so true. From a recruiting side of the house, the first thing that I'm looking at outside of the resume is online presence. Who do they know? What are they affiliated to? What else are they interested in? Do we have similarities within our hiring managers that could really help them stand out? So whether that's LinkedIn or, like I said, some of the other sites like Twitter, Glassdoor, there's just so many. Meetup is also really powerful because, again, it puts you in the room, and nowadays the room is a virtual room of like-minded professionals, and just getting to meet, whether again you're looking for a new opportunity or not, really cool people that you feel like can help empower you get to the next step, even if that's just knowledge or talking about cool projects or opportunities. So meetup is great as well.
Wow, that's really cool. I can just think about the Women Who Code community and all of the engineers out there that are always sharing content and sharing pro tips and things like that. One of my favorite things about the community is how people lift each other up and learn from each other. What I'm
Absolutely.
hearing you say is what I'm liking actually matters and sends a story. Is that right?
Absolutely, because you can see, who liked who. If you liked something, sometimes I'm like, oh, I may like that too. We have a lot of people, and Kforce has obviously been really active in women who code, and I follow certain things. I'll look to see who else did, and that really does share a message, but again, also connects you with other people. Those people may know things that you don't know, and maybe a good friend or potential colleague, but also it could be a hiring manager that you have, would have potentially never met if it weren't for those online rabbit holes that you can go down.
In terms of who to follow, are there tech influencers or organizations that you'd specifically recommend who are out there sharing great content that you think are good sources?
Yeah, I think it depends on who and what you want to follow. If there's specific companies that are of interest to you that have certain folks that are always pushing out content, there's really great blogs and articles that will summarize that for you. I would personally just recommend finding one person and kind of going through there, or asking other people, like, who do you follow, what would you recommend, where do I start in this journey, and continue to build it out from there. Me personally, I have a lot of influences, especially in the female community, that I follow with some of the clients that we support and their technology journey and what they're talking about, the articles that they're publishing, but also just their thoughts. What are they commenting on? What are they liking? How are they handling things that's going on in the world right now? The IT market has changed drastically since the global pandemic. And it's really cool to be able to see people that you look up to and admire, and how they're not only talking about, of course, technology and what their companies are doing, but just how they want to, change the world and make a difference within, their respective companies. So I think a good amount of research, but just starting with one person that you think reaches out to you. And if that just requires a little bit of Google searching of some of the blogs and articles that are out there, then great. That's a great start.
It almost sounds like a digital mentor that, that you
Yeah.
can learn from. That's really cool. And then a lot of people, I know I always hear the advice to share your own content, or at least comment on things, or contribute and add value to a conversation. I also hear people really nervous to hit the share or publish button. I hear engineers constantly say, I typed this great blog, but I never hit publish, or I had this really awesome response, but I couldn't hit submit. What would you say to that person?
I think starting small, I like to use the phrase wild to mild. There's people that are going to be really open and be really wild about getting out there. And there's people that are going to want to take a more mild approach. And even starting with I think even a comment, if it's helpful, like, this was a great article, or this helped me accomplish X, or maybe you're looking at someone's code repository online and you're like, hey, I really liked how you transitioned from this to this. Like, I can see why you use that. Or if it's a question like, hey, why would you use this instead of that? That's still great, because it creates discussion. And I kind of have a rule of thumb: if you're thinking it, I think 10 other people are thinking it, they're just afraid to say it. So asking that question and getting the conversation going, to me, is a good start. And hopefully that builds confidence, that builds, some of the people that you're connected to be able to hit that share button and publish your own content or code or whatever it is.
Wow, that's great advice. I love that wild to mild scale. That's amazing. So what I heard you say today is build your resume. You have to have one, have an awesome summary, and pull in all of those great affiliations in addition to your technical chops. It's also about your associations and networks and leadership positions and hackathons and cool things you do. Build your online presence, find a digital mentor, somebody that inspires you, and see what they're doing, and get out there and post content. Is there anything else that you want the audience to know about building a great resume and digital presence to really put themselves out there?
I would just, look at it as an evolution and not an event. Whether it's a resume, if it's your online presence, don't look at it as something that's complete and it's checked off. There should be so many different iterations, because your role is changing. Maybe you've pushed out a new product or a new application, or you just took a class. Like, you don't always have to be on the job market to update those things, right? You want it to be fresh. You want it to be relevant to also what you want to do and who you want to be branded and known for. So I think if we could get rid of the misconception that, oh, I just got to update my resume because I want to be looking for new opportunities. No, your resume, again, that's your badge of honor. That should be, what you've done, what you're excited about, and where you want to go in your career. So I would just encourage folks to always be thinking about that and share with each other. If you find a digital mentor, or you're connected with certain people online, use those people to say, hey, here's what I just did. Here's what my team was just responsible for. Here's how I summarized it within my resume or what I just put out online. What do you think? If it just helps you to go to one person and get that advice or maybe different ways to think about how you're pushing content or your own resume out, I think that's huge.
Wow. So you have somehow made job hunting feel possible and human. Thank you so much for unpacking this with us today. We really appreciate you spending some time with Women Who Code and for everything that you do in leading the way for technologists through Kforce. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for joining us, and we hope to connect with you again.
Thank you guys. This was awesome.
Awesome.